Hidden roots, journeys that rewrite history. For centuries, we have imagined the Americas as isolated worlds, sealed off by vast oceans until Columbus arrived in 1492. But the natural world tells a more complex story, one of subtle hints and clues that suggest ancient contact across the sweet potato, also known as camote, is native to the Americas, but found in Polynesia before the arrival of Europeans. Local name, Kumara, strikingly similar to its Andean name, Kumara. Sweet potato couldn't have floated there, it had to be carried by people. Archaeology shows that sweet potatoes native to the Americas were cultivated in Polynesia centuries before the arrival of Europeans. Polynesian voyages probably sailed to South America. This is just one thread in a web of evidence, from chicken genetics to shared languages, that points to a more connected pre-Columbian world than we. The history of the Americas is not one of isolation, but of ancient and surprising connections. It's time to look at the past with. The Atlantic seems like an impossible barrier, but history hints at ancient crossings. The language of Madagascar, Malagasy, is Austronesian, not African. Its roots date back to southeast, reflecting an ancient maritime migration across the Indian Ocean. Genetic studies confirm that the Malagasy people are a mixture of African and Southeast Asian ancestry. Plantains and bananas, staple foods in Africa, also came from Asia, transported by human hands. If people could cross the Indian Ocean, they could have crossed the Atlantic. The Canary Current could carry a boat from West Africa to Brazil in weeks, and domesticated chickens from Asia were found in South America before Columbus, genetically linked to Polynesian breeds. These clues suggest a global history of human movement, with the Atlantic perhaps crossed long before Columbus. More than 2,500 years ago, Herodotus wrote that Phoenician sailors, commissioned by Pharaoh Necho Secundus, circumnavigated Africa. They sailed from the Red Sea, stocking up, planting crops along the way. Feat of endurance and planning. The most compelling detail they reported was seeing the sun to their right, north of them, as they rounded the southern tip of Africa, something only possible in the southern hemisphere. Modern analysis shows that such a journey was plausible with ancient ships, and this voyage proves that ancient sailors had the skill and daring for epic voyages. The oceans were not barriers, but challenges to face. The Pacific, the largest ocean in the world, was a highway for the Polynesians, the greatest navigators. In history, they settled on islands thousands of miles away, using advanced knowledge of stars and currents. The sweet potato, native to the Andes, was found throughout Polynesia before European contact, with a shared name, clear evidence of intentional contact. In Chile, pre-Columbian chicken bones are found in Polynesian breeds, suggesting that Polynesians reached South America and traded goods with the locals. Human genetics reveals Polynesian signatures on Easter Island and some South American communities. The Pacific was not a void, but a bridge crossed by skilled navigators that united the Andes and Polynesia. These exchanges show that the ancient world was more connected than we ever imagined. The evidence is undeniable. The Pacific was crossed long before Columbus, long before transoceanic contact. The Americas were alive with trade. Obsidian, seashells, and feathers traveled great distances, connecting cultures from the Great Lakes to the Andes. The Inca road system and coastal traders such as the Mantenos and the Chincha displayed sophisticated maritime and land networks. These societies were masters of the sea, they did not fear it. Their skills made transoceanic travel possible, whether by trade, exploration, or accident. American civilizations were active explorers, not passive recipients. Its internal dynamism laid the groundwork for even greater voyages beyond shores. The Polynesians were master navigators, populating the vast Pacific with skill and intention. Their double-hulled canoes and intimate knowledge of the stars, tides, and birds enabled them to travel thousands of miles. They recalled mental maps, memorized, and read the subtle signals of the ocean. The evidence of their contact with South America is clear. Sweet potatoes and chickens traveled between continents, and the DNA links remain. Not sailors adrift by accident, but explorers who united. The history of Polynesian navigation is one of humanity's greatest achievements even within the Americas. Trade networks connected distant peoples long before the arrival of Europeans. Copper, obsidian, and shells traveled thousands of miles, uniting cultures from the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico. Mesoamerican civilizations traded cacao and feathers across regions, creating a vibrant economic network. The Incas built a 25,000-mile road system, uniting their empire and allowing for rapid communication. These internal networks show that the Americas were dynamic, interconnected, and sophisticated. The continents were never isolated, neither from each other nor from the world in general. When we bring together genetic, linguistic, botanical and archaeological evidence, the myth of total isolation dissolves. Oceans drove ingenuity, not separation. Ancient contacts were probably brief, but they demonstrate that the human impulse to explore and connect is eternal. These stories remind us that history is a web, not a straight line. The evidence is in our genes, our words, and our food. Americas were never as isolated as we thought. Ancient sailors like the Phoenicians circumnavigated Africa centuries before Europeans, proving that open ocean travel was possible. Herodotus' account of his journey, including the position of the sun, matches what we know today. This challenges the idea that ancient mariners only sailed close to the coast. Some evidence is controversial, but fascinating. In the 1990s, German scientists found traces of nicotine and cocaine, native plants, of the Americas in ancient Egyptian mummies. Skeptics suggest contamination, but repeated tests found the same results. Although not definitive proof of transatlantic contact, these findings raise tantalizing questions. Could American plants have reached Egypt before Columbus? The debate remains unresolved, but it reminds us that history is full of mysteries. Sometimes the most surprising clues prompt us to rethink what we know. The old story of two isolated hemispheres is giving way to a richer and more connected story. Each clue, a plant, a chicken bone, a genetic marker, adds to a tapestry of global movement. The oceans were crossed by Phoenicians, Austronesians and Polynesians long before Columbus. The European arrival in 1492 was a turning point, but not the first meeting of worlds. Our ancestors were explorers driven by curiosity and ingenuity. Evidence of pre-Columbian connections shows humanity's enduring drive for land beyond the horizon. History is not a closed book, a continuing story of discovery.